Hi, and welcome to the Pink Sheep Tales podcast. Pink Sheep Tales? What's this all about, I hear you ask? Well, the name is based on the old saying, black sheep of the family, and tales, T-A-L-E-S, is a play on words because we'll be hearing people's life stories. So through this podcast, I'm so excited to be able to share these remarkable stories from inspirational children and adults with you. These everyday people are building amazing businesses, excelling in their careers, exceptional in their industries, choosing unique career paths, and all in the name of living their best life. My goal is to encourage listeners to follow their passions and be inspired by our pink sheep who have and are doing just that. So let's do it. Let's open the gate and hear this week's Pink Sheep Tale. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Pink Sheep Tale. Tonight actually, we're at the State Library doing the interview outside in this beautiful surrounds. So I have with me Peter from Black Rabbit Espresso, and we've just recorded the podcast for Let's Talk Tiny Houses. And that's where we're discussing the real ins and outs of your business with regards to the van, because you have a tiny business. So,
I do.
You do.
Yes.
Yeah. So everyone can pop over to the Let's Talk Tiny Houses podcast and hear about all the specifics of the van, how you built the van, who helped you with the van, all that information. So great. But with Pink Sheep Tales, we really want to get to know Peter. So what I like to do with my guests is start with where you are at the moment. So your business and yourself, just a little description for the listeners to start with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please.
So the business is basically a year and a half in. I'm loving it. It's had some great challenges. Having had no business background, running my own business. I was a bit apprehensive, a bit nervous that I was actually knew what had to be done, and then did I have was I made of the right fabric to be a businessman or owner of a business. But yeah, the business is going really well. Really happy with how things are going, and I've got some wonderful staff that very dedicated. Again, we're a little tiny business running out of a caravan, so we have to be a happy little family. So from that side, progress is still young, I suppose, as a business. So still expecting probably another 6 months to really get to hit that 2-year mark where you start to feel a bit of stability and feel like you understand, how this type of business, fluctuates. Mm-hmm. So for myself, I suppose, I'm a father, I'm a husband, spent, nearly late 40s that's currently, and, spent a good portion of that, working in electronics and then in home entertainment. So the previous job before going into coffee was for a home entertainment company where I managed creative services, so editors, designers. We had marketing division, so I worked with marketing guys. So that sort of I learned a fair bit about elements of design and how I wanted things to look, mm-hmm. and a bit about branding. And we talked, in the previous one, about how my business started and how I used those skills to get that one started. Well, opportunities sort of when things change in your life. Sort of as I mentioned, nearly late 40s. Mm-hmm. Hate to use the 50 word yet, but getting close.
Then don't use it.
No. So probably for the last like 2 or 3 years prior to early 2017, which is when I transitioned from the job that I was doing, I'd had a bit of I don't know, not a midlife crisis, but I'd start thinking about what, is this the job that I'm doing now? And the industry that I'm in, I knew was a bit unstable. Technology's changing, and it was starting to feel the effects of that. And I thought, well, coffee is something that I'd thought about, and I really, obviously, from enjoying it as a drink, I was also very interested in sort of the path of the miles from its growth, what parts of the world it came from, how the flavour of it was affected by these locations and altitude, and then through to the roasting side of it. And that was principally where I sort of got interested. And then I was lucky enough to have a couple of mates that basically were quite successful in different facets of hospitality and business. One of them in coffee, and one of them that had been involved with roasting and creating some beautiful blends. And the one that that we have, our house one, is as a blend that he developed for us. So we've got exclusive on that. So that hence it's called Black Rabbit, or it's called actually Black Betty, the name of the blend. But we use that less now that we don't have other competing blends to work alongside. So we've just got the one now. So we tend not to refer to it by its name as much. But yeah, these couple of guys of mine that have been mentors and have sort of nursed me from being an employee to being an employer. Starting off as a sole trader and operating just a very basic business to looking at as it's gotten bigger and transitioning to a company, and then employing staff and working out how the business can grow from that side. So my challenge is for an old dog and teaching him some new tricks, and my friends have done that have helped me along the way, and I've the key thing, I suppose, for anyone looking at a business, you have to believe in it. You have to believe in what you're doing. If you're in it and it's about a bark, then good luck to you. You can probably do it. But I think, most people that I know, their successes come because of their passion for, that particular product and being in that industry. So, that was the starter for me, the interest in it. And then having surrounded myself with people that are very positive. There'll always be someone. Help. Yeah, so you'll always have someone that'll go, "Oh, mate, what are you doing that for? It's you haven't done this before. It's a bit risky in that." And I did mention earlier on that it wasn't really the platform that I was waiting for to happen. It just happened. But at this period of my life, financially, we were myself and the family were comfortable. We were okay. We didn't have to have no major money stresses or anything like that. So as I transitioned, I had that freedom to be able to do something that could have some risk in it without it potentially impacting. And I know that's not always going to be the case, and different courses for different people, but for me that was the case. But it was important still for me to be surrounded by people that were only ever interested in supporting me, and anyone that wasn't, you have to remove yourself, separate yourself, because you will get doubt in your head, and doubt stays, when you first start a business, a year, 2 years down the track, you can still be questioning, have I done the right thing, if your measure of success is not, is a lot higher than where you currently are. Yeah. But you just have to stay positive and keep those people that are around you giving you that positive sort of feedback.
Oh, definitely. Sometimes the doubters can make you even believe in yourself and your idea more, because you can sort of see a flaw in their doubt, or that it's just an idea that they sort of can't see for themselves, and it's a struggle for them to comprehend doing something like that. But you can sort of go, but I see it. I've got these people around me who are positive. They're successful. They know what they're talking about, and they're believing in me. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look, and that's right. I mean, you do need to, not cocoon yourself with just the positive. Having those people, that are both questioning, what you're doing, and having people that are very supportive. You need to make sure that you are getting the right balance, because sometimes the support can be positive, but it's positive because they just wanting success for you. But the reality is that they might not be off a foundation of good business sense.
Yeah.
But that's where I think when I suppose surrounding yourself with positives is great. Having mentors, having people that have been successful, that can see your business in its basic sort of form and go, that's sound, and now what do you want it to be, and work with you to achieve what you want it to be, instead of going, oh, well, this is how you should do it, blah 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 blah, and then you going, well, that's not the way that I wanted to do it, and then you doubt yourself maybe if you've got someone like that. Whereas if you've got someone that goes, okay, well, tell me what you think, and this is how we'll then work together to try and get you to that point.
Oh, sounds like you had really,
excellent.
really great mentors and friends. Yeah. It's so important, and supportive family too,
Absolutely.
Which is another major contribution to success.
Yes, very true.
That's really, really good. So now we know about Peter and Black Rabbit Espresso, how we're the last year and a half, how your life's changed. If we look back to Peter at school, so what I like to do is sort of go back, because I interview children and adults, and just seeing like maybe the kids can listen and sort of go, oh yeah, I had those interests, or I didn't have those interests, and you can still go along and, create the life you want, or, oh, I see myself really like Peter, and sort of get encouragement and a little bit of enthusiasm from listening to that. So if we go back to Peter at school, how did you like school?
Yeah, I really enjoyed school. I wasn't a fantastic academic by any stretch of the imagination. I probably really enjoyed the social side of school. So there's definitely being in hospitality now sort of works well with that. But no, I was probably things like arts, woodworking, very manual labour, sort of
hands-on
classes. Hands-on was where I found myself most comfortable. I enjoyed things like photography as well, so that was probably something that when I finished school, I was sort of quite interested in getting into the film industry and into television and into that side of it. It just things just didn't pan out, and I took another path. But that was probably the things that I really enjoyed: manual arts, making things, being creative.
And so your desire with film, you said you took another path. What was the path you saw with the film industry?
I think the film industry, I just found that it was again an art that like a lot of other arts, a difficult road. Like very few opportunities in it. You really had to know someone to try and get a foot in the door. And I think at that stage I wasn't either committed enough, or I didn't know people that could help me go down that path. As I said, I did like that manual arts. I did like working with my hands, and hence I had an interest in music and electronics. So I actually went into electronics and into the repair side of the electronics industry. So repairing TVs and VCRs back in the old day before
Oh, golly.
DVD players.
Yes.
So and
the Beta,
a Betamax and the VHS. So that was the trade that I did, a radio and TV mechanic, and then a bit of not a crossover into into the film industry, but I did work a bit in what was called the post-production side, with in video content, and hence which was sort of the last 25 years ended up doing that style of industry in the creative service and home entertainment side. So that was a little bit closer than fixing stuff to the TV and film industry.
Mm-hmm.
But then that was that was good fun. But that was
So was that from school until a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
That is,
well,
wow.
Each one, it was other than a short stint overseas.
Where did you go?
To Europe for 12 months, and that was sort of back in 1994, 95. So I finished my apprenticeship in 1993, a year as in the trade, and then went overseas. And then when I came back, that's when I sort of went into what's like a post-production or duplication company. When the old days with VHS,
mm-hmm.
they would duplicate the VHS tapes en masse to sell, in stores or for rental,
mm-hmm.
And for other commercial, uses. And the company that I started with there as the head technician, so looking after, their equipment. And through that, I got a bit involved with some editing of vision and sound editing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that company was acquired by another business, and I moved on to that business, which was then acquired by another business. And
wow.
moved on, so going from VHS and then watching VHS disappear, and into DVD and DVD authoring, and doing animated design and editing, and then creating audio music and sound beds for commercials, because we did a lot of our own little production stuff for advertising on television. So
wow.
So I got close to where I'd envisaged starting when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got to the point where I suppose I outgrew an industry that was a little bit on the decline. There was probably other options to go other places, but I sort of decided, like I said, I was at a step off point, which allowed me to follow another passion, mm-hmm. that I'd sort of had stirring away for 2 or 3 years before that.
That was my next question. Did you? I call it the boss gene. Had you? So for myself, my parents had their own businesses, and I grew up thinking, what will my business be? Like, that was always my mindset, that I would have my own business. That's what you do. Had you envisaged yourself owning your own business?
No, I didn't. I've been exposed to a lot of people, friends who have are their own, have their own businesses, they're their own bosses. But both my parents were, employees, and I didn't really have the boss gene, I suppose, from when I was young, and even now I really don't have it, which is a bit of a double-edged sword to when you're trying to manage staff, which. The management of staff was one thing, which I was doing, when I worked for the creative services. Then I sort of learned some, skills on how to deal with that. But I've never been able to find that sweet point of being the boss. I'm more the buddy than the boss, which has its own issues. But look, there was no desire to ever really be, the leader. I suppose what comes from going down the path and doing what I'm doing is you now are making decisions that you need to live with, that are going to affect your business, and you can get feedback from people, or you can just go, no, it's my way, it's my business, and I'm just going to do it that way. I tend to listen to people and try and and get feedback from them, because that side of it, I think, I'm still learning.
We're all learning all the time. All the time, I think, yeah. So we've left school and we've done an apprenticeship, and then we've gone overseas.
Yeah.
Was that backpacking, or were you over there for a particular job, or?
No, just backpacking.
Oh,
yeah, both my parents are from overseas. It was sort of, I suppose, that was one thing that was in the blood, and all of my siblings have travelled, and for extended periods of time. So never been quite the go for 2 weeks sort of family. When we go, we tend to go for a year. The year seems like a short one compared to some of my siblings that 2-3 years, overseas, even longer. So yeah, that was a great adventure. I was single. I was sort of not at any sort of crossroads, but I knew that I always had this desire to travel, and I felt abnormally old for a traveller compared to a lot of people, because obviously finished school, let's have a gap year, go travelling, and then go to university. Whereas I'd done an apprenticeship, I had, a trade under my belt, and I was like, right, well, I've got money. Now's the right time to go.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. So, when did you meet your wife?
So I met my wife in the late 90s, 1999, and very close to her birthday, in around October. And we, it was friends through a friend. It was a girl that I had, I'd met her maybe twice before that, but not as a one-on-one introduction, as part of a bigger group. And then, we just, came together with, some mutual friends, sort of, not that they were trying to set us up or anything. We were just there, but just in a smaller group. And, from there we, it was leading up to, obviously, New Year's Eve 2000. So, and that was going to be the New Year's Eve of all New Year's Eves, potentially the end of the world. And so there was, the 2KY bug. So we decided, and it was even organised prior to meeting my wife Jade, was that we would go overseas and go to a time zone that was going to be one of the first. So we went to Fiji. And that was, and I already had tickets lined up, and a couple of others, and then we had someone drop out, and then I was able to go, hey Jade, the early days I know, but we're going over to Fiji for a week for New Year's Eve 2000, and she was 1999, 2000, and she was like, yeah, that sounds wonderful. So yeah, that's sort of, where it started. And then today, 2 beautiful children. The oldest one's my daughter, who's in grade 10, and the youngest one's my son, and he's in grade 8. Lovely kids. At the same time, I'm sure the grey hairs and a few other things are a result of having to deal with them. But it's been a wonderful journey, and like you said, support a family. The kids will probably get more involved with the business, and my wife's sort of involved at a very base level at the moment. But she's the brains of the family, so I need her on board to make sure that if we do end up with a second site, or just things change, then she's the number one partner to have there to assist with that. So.
Yeah. Oh, it's perfect. What a cute story.
Oh, thank you.
I love hearing cute stories of like first meetings, or how people got together, or very, very cute.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for sharing about your family.
It's okay.
If we have a think about like daily rituals, or something it mightn't be daily, it might be weekly, or something you do to ensure things run smoothly. Do you have anything like that? Like some people wake up and they give themselves 5 minutes without technology, just sit down, write all their to-dos down and then start their day, and they know they've got all of those out of their head?
Yeah, look, I probably don't have one thing that I identify with. I think for me in the morning, what I do tend to do, and it's something that's probably a little more recent than when I first started, and that is I do wake up and I'm a bit of a slow sort of starter in the morning. So I'll get myself ready and I'll just go downstairs and I'll just sit on the chair downstairs and I'll just sort of have a little bit of, thinking time, and it's sort of think about, the sort of the weather. I like to think, what's the weather like today? And I don't go poking around outside yet. I'm sort of just, does it sound like it's raining, things like that. Just get myself prepared because we are so exposed. Weather plays a big part. And then often I'll start to recall some conversations with people from the day before, because that's such a big part of the day is the conversations with customers who are now basically call them friends, because I see them every day and have a chat with them, and I hear about their wives and their dogs and their children and their jobs and what's going on. So things that you would normally engage and talk about with friends. So I have that little bit of moment before I sort of go, okay, I'm awake now, and jump in the car and head off to the van. Some of that I think's come about because in the past I would be opening the van myself, so I would be there. Now I have some staff and guys that take some of those shifts and do some of that work. So the morning isn't sort of all about going alarm at 4:30, get up and then try and make myself look as presentable as possible and rush out the door hoping that I've got everything I need, because once I'm there and business, once we open up, 5 a.m, then we start to, things just kick off and you don't have time to scratch yourself. So
and in the Tiny House podcast that we did, you were mentioning how even your customers they're building a little community as the center point.
Absolutely.
So they come and they will start little conversations or overhear conversations, and then it's a little community being built there, which is so great.
Absolutely. And it's something we've started observing, like that these people that do have travel patterns and things like that, where the windows are obviously just a couple of minutes either side, and people come through religiously at these times, and so they're often meeting up with other people that they see if they're if that's their routine is to drop in the morning. So Darren and Tony are there at the same time, and they always see each other, and then all of a sudden something sparks a little conversation, and next thing you know they're standing there having a conversation, having a coffee, and then I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, see you, mate, and they're off. And so a little network, a little family has started expanding with these relationships that have been created.
That's great. And would you say you get mostly foot traffic or people stopping in their cars?
Look, I would say it's cars are the majority, because we are on that Musgrave Road, so the commute coming in is where we get the majority. In saying that, it's not way out of balance. We do get quite a few walkers that stop in. There's a small amount of business and some wonderful teachers, phys ed teachers from the boys' grammar school down the road, who love to come up and keep us entertained. So we do get a few of those small businesses and schools that we have people drop in. But that commute in the morning, people can text ahead and they'll know that they can pull in, barely have to turn their car off, grab a coffee, and then they're off again. So
Aww, that's great. When you sort of think back on your life before coffee or your life now, what's something you're really proud of yourself for? A trait or an event or a leap you took, which could be the business.
Yeah.
But something you go, I'm really proud of myself for that.
Probably the one thing is that, and as a sport, this is, and it was as a sport that both my father and I, a passion we shared for sailing. So that was something that has always been with me. I haven't done as much lately, but in my younger years, I did quite a bit of blue water sailing as well. No Sydney to Hobart, but plenty of Brisbane to Gladstones and quite a few other offshore races. And I think one thing that I find a trait in myself, and I don't know, sometimes I can see it as a negative, and that is that I always love to be part of a team and always believe that the person, everyone's got a positive, great side to them. It's how you can uncover that. So whether that's a bit of naivety in myself, that not everyone's a great person, but having been in situations with sailing where middle of the night, pretty horrible conditions, and relying on people that sometimes are like strangers. Like not every boat I've been on has been people that are mates and that I've known for a long time. There can often be people on there that I've known for hours, within a day, and you're relying on them to for your life, and they're relying on you for their life if things get really bad. So in those situations I go, well, I think most people, if not all people, so that's probably looking at the good that I think everyone has in them.
I think that's definitely true. It's like you've got a little skill of uncovering people's strengths, and even if they can't see it, you can see it and give them the confidence.
My wife says I'm a pretty good judge of character. She goes, she sort of says, if Pete doesn't think that he's a good bloke or she's a good person, then she sort of thinks, he's pretty good normally. And like I said, what I think about someone is that, at that time, they might not be great. But again, like I said, I think everyone has the potential to be, good people. It's just whether they choose at that time to be. But
I think that's a really great trait. And how you were saying with you being a boss, you can sometimes be the mate. But I think that's seeing in your staff strengths that they mightn't have, or encouraging the strengths that they mightn't see as strengths. I think that's fantastic and makes a great boss.
Oh, thank you.
Makes staff wanting to do a great job for you. And
I think so. We do have a wonderful relationship like that. I mean, it comes with its ups and downs, and it's sometimes there's a bit of grey area. It's hard to sort of find that line. But it is. It's the way it's the way that I operate. It's based on on my personality and who I am, and I've often thought, maybe I should be that that strict boss and just be purely an authoritarian, and just say this is the way that it needs to be done, and this is my way, and or the highway sort of thing. But I think I've learned a lot from these guys as well.
Yeah, and that doesn't sound like it would match up with your values at all. So no, don't start doing that, Peter. No. Don't start doing that. If we talk about hobbies, you've mentioned sailing.
Yeah.
What sort of hobbies are you interested in at the moment?
Oh, look, I think sailing's actually come back on the cards now. The kids are a little older, and it's something that I'd like to introduce them back to see if they're if they're up for that. So that's definitely things. I suppose for me, on again back to manual arts and doing things with hands. I like building stuff. So I've accumulated a lot of tools, and I do like to spend time looking at something and going, how can I build that or change that. So that's my hobbies are probably between that little bit of sports with the sailing and the other one is just tinkering around and building stuff. Wood, in particular, I like to work with. So that's built some nice boxes that are obviously to go into the van.
Yes.
So it was like, well, I can't find them, or I found some that was similar, and they were like, it's really expensive, and I was like, well, it's just essentially they're plywood and they're just fixed together. I've just, and I know how to do all that. So, yeah.
Oh, so, perfect, and it's a personal touch.
Absolutely, and it's
so
that's probably where that's my hobbies are, is doing little things for the van as well.
Yeah.
Because I know that I can do it. It's
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So the last question I like to ask everybody is, for someone out there listening who's on the fence, they've got a business idea or they're in a career that they're not happy with, they want something different, what advice would you give to them?
Okay, I think I touched on before. You've got to be invested in your idea, in your dream, in what you want. So you've got to be prepared that's you've got that fortitude to move forward. Make sure you've got people around you that are going to be very supportive, and ideally, if you've got people that or someone you can reach out to that's already got either been in that business or has sort of business acumen that you think will that you don't have, that can help support. Everyone just says, you've got to chase your dream at all costs. Well, you can't. It's not always going to be at all costs, but make sure that it's a sound idea. Do that bit of homework and just go, okay, I do understand the industry that I'm getting into. I'm not being naive and just chasing a cloud, and then get that support that you need from those, for all that information, that how to set up a business, how to structure it, how to, make sure that you understand your profit and losses of your business. And so, your accountant friend will be able to sit down with you and explain very simply, this is costing you money here, and this is where you're losing money here. So you just get that sort of, that sound sort of advice from those people to get you, moving on with it. Yeah.
Oh, great advice. Well, Peter, thank you so much again for spending this time with me to do both podcasts tonight. It's been a really lovely night here, hasn't it?
It has. The temperature's fantastic.
Yes, and there's a teacup display from one of the I think they said St Hilda's School. Not sure. But so we've had nice little surroundings here at the State Library. Yeah. So thank you so much again, Peter, and I wish you all the best with everything, and we'd love to stay up to date with anything that's happening with yourself or the business that you'd like to let us know. And I'll update the listeners, or we'll do another podcast, whatever you'd like to do.
No, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on, Christine.
Oh, you're welcome.
Like I said, I was a bit nervous, but it's been wonderful, and anything that changes, I think, I'll let you know and see if your listeners might be interested in it.
Oh, thanks, Peter. All right, well, have a good night.
I will.
Thank you for listening, and I hope you really enjoyed this week's tale. Let me now invite you to pop over to our Facebook group called Pink Sheep Tales Podcast, and there you can stay up to date with all the exciting news from our pink sheep. You can also find myself at OCD, Organising, Cleaning and Decluttering Specialist on Facebook, or on my website ocdpro.com.au. Well, I'll catch you back here next week. Until then, enjoy yourself.